Great. All right, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, I'll need you to enable the screen sharing if that's all right, Josh.
Yeah. Maybe. I can't remember where it's at.
I know the screen share button is at the bottom, and I don't know if there's some sort of options or.
How's that? Did it work?
Let me try. Yep. Yeah, it's good. One second. I'm trying to get there you go. Oh. All right. You can all see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, welcome, or I guess I'm not necessarily the host, so I shouldn't be welcoming you, but Heart to Heart Orphans USA. This is the organization that we're part of and that we wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. It is a 501c3. Well, I'll just go to here first. Heart to Heart, it was established. Our primary goal is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, that we believe that he came to save sinners, of which we are in desperate need, and that is ultimately our purpose through the organization. That being said, although the mission is spiritual, God has put us in a physical world with sin and all the consequences and things that go on with that, and thus there are people in tremendous physical needs, and our physical bodies, which God has saved as well, need support. And so those who the hope is that through meeting the physical needs, the education, the medical and microfinance needs in Nairobi, Kenya, that ultimately this will open the door to sharing the gospel of Jesus with the folks there. We are a 501c3 organization. We've got 9 board members, and we're all professing believers. And I think we have PCA, OPC, Baptist, and I think non-denominational as well. I'm pretty sure that's Eric is in a non-denominational church. Is that right, Dan?
And yeah, he's Baptist, and Melanie grew up in a Lutheran church.
Okay, great. So we of the kind of Orthodox professing evangelical, we've got a pretty good smattering of the denominations. The organization is based in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is just kind of north of Wilmington on the eastern seaboard there, right in the center of the state on the coast. Our main mission, really our primary and sole mission right now, is that we're partnered with a school in Kenya. So as you can see, Kenya's there on the, for those of you who are not familiar, which you probably are more than I was when I first started getting involved, Kenya's there on the eastern side of Africa, just south of the Horn of Africa. In particular, the school is located in Nairobi, which is the capital, plateau region. I think it's about 5,000 feet MSL that Nairobi is on, and within the city. So this is kind of a Google Earth imagery of the main parts of the city. The Kibera slum is where the school and the ministry is focused. There's about 1 million residents in the Kibera slum, and it is one of the largest slums in all of Africa. Looking at down at the street level, you can see just a few different pictures there, some of which were taken by our friends and some of which are just from generic Google pictures, but it is a pretty destitute place with tremendous trash and pollution and unbelievably poor living conditions. Most of these people would be classified as abject poverty. That's basically less than $2 per day of income. The organization in Kenya, so just a quick clarification, there's Heart to Heart Orphan Center, Children's Center in Kenya, and our organization is Heart to Heart Orphans USA. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about the Children's Center, and then we'll go to what we do. So Mary Kinga was doing ministry. She's a native, lives in Nairobi, and she was doing ministry in the slums in 2006. Basically visiting orphans and providing food and basic mercy ministry there. She saw the obviously tremendous need there, and in 2006 she began to work more actively with these children there. she was focused particularly on the orphans and the vulnerable children. There's so many have no support systems, no support networks. They're at high risk of abuse, neglect, exploitation. And then in some of the kind of outskirts, some of the slightly more rural areas, just on the outskirts of the slums, there's a lot of, particularly for the girls, there's some of the genital mutilation and some of the traditions that are steeped in some of the indigenous religions that haven't come out of that have exacerbated some of these needs. So she created the Heart to Heart Orphans Children's Center, which is there to really, as described before, there to support the needy in whatever way she possibly can. The main way is through offering Christian education, as mentioned, nutrition, so food, a little bit of some healthcare support as well to those vulnerable children and also those infected with AIDS. I've read different numbers, but the number of HIV infection rates is between 10 and 20% for all of the people, those 1 million people there in the slums there. And the biblical context and support or premise for her work there is really that James 1:27, to look after orphans and widows in their distress. Heart to Heart USA, how we got involved in with this, Dan and Melanie first had contact with Mary, the lady I mentioned just a minute ago there. In 2013, she was doing a fundraising trip in the area, and she and Dan and Melanie were able to make contact with her, heard her presentation. A couple years later, they followed up and visited Kenya to see what it was actually like on the ground. And then upon returning the next year, they founded Heart to Heart USA. Again, kind of the motivational verse for them was Matthew 9:37, that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So although there are many organizations that are trying to do the best they can to help in the slums, with 1 million people in abject poverty, there's lots to be done. As far as what Heart to Heart Orphans USA does, we are involved with child sponsors. Is kind of our primary focus. So much like you would see with Samaritan's Purse or World Vision or some of those organizations, we have individual children that are in need that we sponsor with to help pay for school tuition, and then also kind of some other basic needs as well, the feeding program and things like that. In addition to that, and I'll talk a little bit more about the school situation in a couple minutes. But in addition to that, there's also a rescue center located at this, well, really in a building just adjacent to the school there, that has a number of orphans, ages, I'm not sure what the youngest is, Dan or Melanie, maybe 8 to 18, roughly are the ages there.
That's a good spread.
Basically school age kids that have no other place to go. And we'll give you a couple pictures of that in a minute. Additionally, we've been involved in some microfinance, basically folks trying to be productive, not just receive the support, but also turn it into something that's sustainable. So a couple small business efforts that we've been involved with. Over the last, since COVID, we've been supporting some of the COVID needs there. In particular, the biggest thing is just food, with the unemployment going up, and the different challenges. A number of the people in the city, in the slums, work in the richer parts of town as maids or doing laundry for the wealthier folks. And a lot of that got shut down during COVID, increasing the poverty. A lot of those people lost their jobs because they were concerned about COVID coming into their homes, and just do the laundry and some of those things themselves. And so those people lost even more jobs and for pushed further into poverty. One specific project that we've been working on, and we're just about at our goal, has been to a vehicle for those folks there that have doing ministry. So Mary, for example, goes into the slums and out, but they don't have a vehicle, so they have to catch rides or pay for taxis. And so we've been saving for a vehicle, and we've just met our goal, and we're getting ready to send the last kind of chunk of money to them so that they can get out and buy the vehicle here, hopefully in the next few weeks or months. And then there's occasionally some miscellaneous needs that we get involved in as well. At this point, we have 44 children that are fully sponsored. So that means we have folks that are able to pay the $50 or for a elementary student, or the $90 a month for for a high school student. And then we also have a few folks that aren't able to pay quite that much, but they are able to give a partial sponsorship. So the children are able to stay in school, hopefully supplement a little bit with some of their family savings, or just general fund money that we give to complete that sponsorship of the child so that they can stay in school. Here's a few pictures of kind of some of the situation there in the slums, a little bit closer up. So this is Caroline, and this was one of your Dan and Melanie's first contacts there when they went and visited. Obviously, you can see again the abject poverty, the trash, the filth and the sewage that kind of runs right down through their neighborhood and through the houses there. The main school is called Prince of Peace Elementary School, and that is where most of our sponsored kids go. And this is again tied to that rescue center there in that area.
Which is also affiliated with the Lutheran.
Yes, thank you.
Church.
Yeah, there is a Lutheran church there, and this is kind of what got us thinking. Man, we should get involved with Bethlehem, because the school was started by the Lutheran church there, and that was the initial ministry of that church. Here's a small picture of the rescue center. It's pretty cramped quarters. You can see those backpacks or laundry baskets or little bins and a mosquito net is about all that they have, that those school age kids have as far as their whole life's possessions. And
Yeah, and then in the rescue center right now, there's 30 children. They have them separated out with the girls and the boys, obviously, and
older boys, younger.
and it's
No, girls, older.
older girls, younger girls are separated out, and then the boys are all together in one room. But like John said, it's very sparse. All their entire life, if you look at the right hand side, is in that clothes basket there. So it is just just so sad. But the next slide really cracks me up. But
so as we said at the beginning, really ultimately the goal is that Jesus is at the center of all this, and the hope is that providing some of this education, providing some of the even if we can only provide a plywood wall and a rough bunk and an education, that ultimately they would hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And based on the graffiti in the wall in the rescue center, at least there seems to be some effect of that, which is great, is really kind of exciting and motivating. As I said, education is in the sponsorship of children is our primary means there, and it's done mostly through the Prince of Peace School, and then we have a few students at the I'm going to mispronounce it, but it's the Kayanga.
Yes, that one. Oh, the school is Karama.
Karama, sorry.
Yeah,
Karama.
no, the school is good. It's the town or the slum that it's located in that's tough. Yeah, the Karawanga, right?
Is that done in English?
They speak the Swahili, but they do some things in English as well. But
That's what's on the papers, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah, I can see he proclaimed himself the king of something. It's a little blurry, but yeah, it's English. Most of the academic there is in English. Here's some more pictures of some of the kids at the school there.
how can you not love that picture,
It's interesting to see all of this is just kind of a sidebar to see them all in sweaters and hats. You think of Africa near the equator being extremely hot, but Kenya or Nairobi is up at elevation. So although it might be warm at times, it's typically not extremely hot and does get cool at times. And then the feeding program. One of the things they noticed, as these kids are coming to school, was that oftentimes they found that the children weren't the only solid meal a day they were getting, or they weren't eating sufficiently. They were having difficulties with staying focused in school. And so they're realizing these kids aren't getting fed at home. They're not bringing a lunch with them to school. So they're going hungry a large portion of the time, insufficient or no food. And so they started a feeding program, which provides them, is it 1 or 2 meals a day at school?
They eat a breakfast, a small breakfast, and then they have the lunch, which is their bigger meal. And then some of them have the ones that are really impoverished, there's a afternoon meal program for those as well.
And in that, from what I understand, that also made a notable difference in their academic performance as well, as they were able to not just think about how hungry they were, but think about what they were actually trying to study and learn. Additionally, with that, some of the feeding programs, they found, and this was particularly noticeable during COVID, that the children that are enrolled in the school have been able to get the food, but those that aren't enrolled have little or nothing at home. And so at mealtime, some of the younger siblings would show up at school, and the kids with the sponsored kids with the food would be sharing it with the kids, the younger siblings that were too young to be at school and actually get the appropriate nutrition. And so some of our support, we did a drive last summer, which helps pay for food for some of these unsponsored kids. And then we also have a couple regular donors that give for the younger kids that aren't in school. One of the first microfinance success stories. This is Dan and Melanie when they were first there in 20, or I guess this would be on your second trip. Is this right, Dan?
This is first trip.
Okay, first trip. Before they had gone, they had agreed to be part of a microfinance with a lady named Consolata there in the red. And she wanted to start a small store, and they spent, what was it, $100, $60 or something, Dan?
165.
165.
Yeah, $160, $165, and to help her get the initial inventory of supplies. And within just a few months, she was able to go from initial inventory of some toilet paper and a few grains and a few small things to a legitimate business, which she now is able to not require any support. She's able to support herself through this dry goods store that she has.
And John, I'm going to interject a little bit,
Sure.
because this is one of my favorite stories. Consolata, when she first, she was behind in her rent by 3 months, and Missionary Mary came to us and said, "Hey, can you help her out?" And me and Melanie looked at each other and said, well, what's the dollar amount? So it was $90 for 3 months rent, and which was a 10 by 10 hut with a corrugated metal roof. And we're like, sure, we'll help out with that. And then it came, and I need $165 to start a fruit stand. And I was like, okay, here we go. It's going to be a revolving door. But that's not what happened at all. So Consolata, when we went over to visit Missionary Mary, she you got to go see Consolata, which was on the other side of the slum, which we had a very short window because we were just basically doing a layover going to South Africa. But I was like, I don't know if we're going to have time. And she's like, no, you got to go see her. So we went and saw her, and she was just, the first thing I saw was her, and she's taller than me. So she's like 6'1", 6'2", but she's got her Bible in her hand. She's coming up the pathway, and she's singing in Swahili, and she's singing a Christian song. And she's just on fire for the Lord. And but so she started this little fruit stand, and then she turned it into basically a little 7-Eleven type store. And so she's selling all kinds of sundries and toothpaste and toothbrushes and fruits and vegetables and all that. But the biggest thing is that she gives back. So she gives back to the Lord, and she serves her community. She's the women's ministry lead for her church. She is volunteering time. She's HIV positive. She volunteering time at the hospital. serving those that have HIV. During COVID, they came to her, the community came to her, and she was the lead person in her portion of the slums, supporting about 60,000 people, reporting the the COVID stuff for her community. I would call it like a county within the slum, so to speak. But she is on fire for the Lord. She is blessing other people. She's serving other people, and I just it's just amazing. So that's my if there's a success story anywhere in the world, it's Consolata. So I just she is such a blessing.
Thank you. So those are some of the kind of the pictures there, and then just to overview what Heart to Heart USA has done. So in 2021, we had 34 children that we were able to sponsor. We did a COVID relief fund and Christmas meals. We were able to get 23 food baskets. We do a small side thing we do is there's a women's ministry that makes handcrafts, and then we've sold some of those. We began a fundraising project for Family Bibles, and we raised $16,000 for the vehicle. In 2021 total, we raised $40,000, and we were able to keep our expenses under 5%. So we have to wire transfer money over to the school, and credit card fees for people's donations and things like that, and a little bit in our website and things like administrative things here. So we were able to give about over 95% in 2021.
Hey, John, were you going to talk about the family Bibles later on?
Yeah, I'm going to hit that on the next slide.
Okay, thank you.
So in 2022, we're still working to raise support for more children, which can be seen on our website, which I'll talk about briefly in a minute. We had a list of 123 families that were on a waiting list for Bibles, and we have been able to provide over 200. Dan, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's about another 200 that are Ligonier Ministries in Florida has been able to donate.
Yeah, it's 292 Bibles is what we were able to provide in our last trip, and those are to families that didn't have Bibles. So I always say, you go to church, you listen to the message, and then you go home and you don't have a sword. So being able to equip those families with a family Bible that they can share with their family. So we were able to do 292 Bibles on our last trip due to donations and contributions. And then Ligonier has 225 Bibles that they're going to be providing here shortly.
They should be there any day.
They're
on a ship.
Yeah, they're on a ship, so it is a slow boat going over there. But Ligonier partnered up with us is providing those for the children.
Additionally, as I said, we were able to deliver the first parts of the funds in April. The inflation funds for the vehicle that we had been saving for a while. Inflation has really jacked the price of vehicles there. And so as I said, we've just got the last amount to increase the money to send over there so that they can actually purchase the vehicle. And then also, again, our goal is continue to spread the word about Heart to Heart and to gain as many new partners as we can. Quick look, there's our Facebook page. It can be found at Heart to Heart Orphans USA on Facebook. And then our website, which I will show you here real quick in just a second. Okay, actually, I'll do that right now.
Josh, you said that the church that you came from in Missouri had a connection with Heart to Heart. Do you remember anything about that?
They had something in Nakabongo, Uganda. I thought it was the same name, but I don't know. Maybe you would know. But this is USA, so it's different.
Okay. So here's our website. Kind of the main features up top. It's pretty.
It didn't switch to screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're still.
Yeah, I shared a window instead of a. Here we go. How about that? Is that
Yep.
okay? Great. There's the website there. It's pretty intuitive as far as what's going on here. I guess the main things I would call your attention to is if anyone does want to learn more about the organization, obviously the About Us, our mission statement, and things of that nature. If if they want to learn more about the organization, and then the other one would be the Children in Need tab here, which will show you basically these are the sponsored children that still need sponsors, and so they can anybody that wants to go in here they can check out Isabel and learn a little bit about her, what her situation is with her family, and then choose to sponsor her as they feel led. There's also, and then obviously if they want to donate financially, there's a donate tab, which is again pretty self-explanatory. Just follow the tab and then fill it out as needed. Let's see. Dan, anything else on the website that you would like to highlight?
Are there any videos?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I don't think we do have any videos.
On Facebook.
I think, yeah, Rebecca.
It was on Facebook.
Yeah, we have some on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then how old is the ministry?
The USA portion. So again, we're basically a fundraising arm of the school and the ministry there. Dan and Melanie started that in 2018. So it's we're finishing up our 4th year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right before COVID.
And really we got going later in 2018. And so in 2019, 2020, 21 and 22, we've raised a little over about 110 so far, $1,000 that we've been able to raise for the school there and the sponsor of the kids and all that.
And do you know how many churches participate in individual donors?
I had that at the end of last year. We have about last year, I think we had about 50 to 75 individual donors. If you give me a minute, I can look up that answer.
Sure.
As far as church donations, there's only 2 churches that give directly from the church, right?
Yeah, because Harvest and then King of Kings Lutheran in Missouri.
And one time when Mary was back here in the States, River of Life here in Jacksonville was they donated a one-time donation.
That's right.
As well. So they're a non-denominational church, a large church here in Jacksonville.
And then our synod has what's called the Mercy Medical Missionary Teams to go provide kind of healthcare for people over in Africa and other countries. How did you find the volunteers for your team to go?
Yeah, for our volunteers, we have a couple folks that we know, personally. One's a flight paramedic, and then there's a PA that was going to go with us the last time, but their schedule and COVID kept them from going to the trip last time. So we are trying to organize for our next trip, which will be in April, for a 9-day trip. We're trying to get some medical folks to go over and do some routine medical type things, infections, parasites, that type of stuff, medical needs like that. One of the things that we do as part of our the $50 it's for supporting the kids, it does their uniform for the school. It does their tuition for the school. It does the meal plan for the school, and it also there's I think it's $5. As $5 goes towards medical insurance, which gives the whole family access to being able to go to a medical appointment. It's kind of outpatient type services. It's very rudimentary, but at least it's something for the children. So that's part of the ministry as well. So part of that $50 for the elementary school, and then the $90 for the high school. And the reason that the high schoolers are more expensive They
high
are
school.
boarding, they're in a boarding school, so they have a lot more, books and the boarding and all that. The grade school kids are actually going to school and going home in the evenings, but the high schoolers are in a dormitory setting, so it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, and so the program's been going about 4 years. What sort of success rate have you seen with the kids?
But with the kids, I'll talk about one child. Is actually my son, was my middle son, sponsored him through high school because he wanted to get an older child and sponsor the child through, because everybody looks at the cute young ones, and he wanted one of the older ones. So he actually took the child. His name was Stephen. He was able to sponsor him through high school, and Stephen became the valedictorian. He was the president of the school, the student body president, and then he was going to college to be a pharmacist. So it was just so, and we got to meet him in person, and just a great story. But one of the things we saw whenever Stephen was there, he was talking to Missionary Mary, saying, "Hey, I got an issue to get resolved." And Mary finally was able to talk to him and says, "What's the problem?" He says, "Well, I need a test kit in order to get to go to college." And she came to us and she says, "I got a big problem. Stephen needs a test kit in order to go to school." And we're thinking, okay, this is going to be very expensive. It was like $14 or something. And, I reached in and got it out of my pocket and handed it to her right there. But we take so much for granted. If he hadn't been able to get that, $10 or $14, whatever it was very minor, he would not have been able to go to college.
When their rent's $30, is that be like half your rent going for a test kit?
So when you see success stories like that, and there's other success stories as well, but the Consolata and Stephen are two of my favorite stories, where the Lord has just led them, and they are just successful. So you give them an opportunity to thrive, and he was showing his leadership at school, and wanting to be a success and give back as being a medical professional.
So then where did he go to university? Do they have some in Kenya?
That is a good question. I don't remember which school. It was there in Nairobi, though. It was one of the local schools.
And it sounds like you have a lot of contacts. So once you have a kid, you're sponsoring the kid, do you get to send letters back and forth or pictures, or what do you do?
One of the things that we are striving to do, I won't say that we're totally successful at, but what we want to do is have 2 interactions a year between the sponsored child and the sponsor, so that we know, here's what's happening, and being able to have some input. So it's not like just okay, well, you're sending some money and where's it going, right? So the sponsor needs to have some feedback from the child of, okay, how is school going? How are they doing in school? What are are they being fed the gospel? Or are they, all that? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt your sentence.
No.
I just wondered how many kids are in the school. I mean, if you've got a population of over 1 million people, you obviously aren't serving very many kids because you can't. So I just wonder how that works.
You're exactly right. So there's like 900 total out of the 2 schools, right? So
really, that many?
Yeah. So we're not able to support as many as we would like. We're trying to get our feet under us and get more sponsors. There is an organization out of Norway. They are not. They're more on the commercial side of the house, from the Norwegian side. but they do support a lot of children. And so they're able to support much more. And there's a gentleman, his name's Gunnar, and he is very he's connected with the government over there in Norway, and he's able to. One of the things that Norway is sponsoring is trying to help children out in Africa. So he was able to connect up with radio stations and television stations and stuff like that, and he was able to get several sponsors out of Norway. So they are one of the big sponsors there for the schools as well.
So do you have a waiting list for kids who want to get into the school, or?
That list, there's 100 children that we have access to. So on our website, we have those children that need to be sponsored. There's about 100 of them that we know of personally that are on the list. And Missionary Mary and the other gentleman that was that co-sponsored, not sponsored, but they started the organization over there for the children's centers, the co-founders. His name's Sylvester. So Missionary Mary and Sylvester started the organization, and they're still active on the board. They're the head people there. But
and Dan, they're members and involved in the Lutheran Church that's right there, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they actually have 2 Lutheran churches. They're evangelical Lutherans, but what happened? They were founded by the evangelical Lutheran denomination, and over time they remained conservative, and the evangelical Lutheran did not, and so they kind of left them. Basically, they're conservative evangelical Lutherans.
Do they want to join the other Lutherans? Do they?
As a matter of fact, that was a concern of mine when I saw evangelical Lutheran, because like Dan said, I was raised in Missouri Synod, and when we went over there, I had to ask Mary. I said, and it was kind of funny when I asked her. She jumped back and she's like, no.
We're
And
conservative.
right. And she explained that they did not follow those teachings at all. So they're very true. They have a biblical worldview. So, but you're talking about the communication liaisons.
So one of the challenges that we had was Mary and Sylvester were so busy that they had a hard time responding to some of our emails. So what we did was the last trip, we actually hired a liaison to be able to communicate with us. So we were able to work with them individually so that they could get the pictures and stuff like that. So Sylvester and Mary wouldn't be bogged down into the administrative type actions. They could do more of the strategic type functions that they needed to do, which is it worked out wonderful for us. So the communications, we get communications weekly, and when we need it daily, and they actually get us the information. Right now we're going through some communications on a Christmas card contest that the children did for us. So they wrote out a Christmas card, and we were able to do that through their youth program on the weekends, and we're able to get the kids a little gift for their participation, and then we will provide that Christmas card to the people, the sponsors, and get the communications from each one of the kids, from the sponsors, put that in there with the Christmas card, and just thank our sponsors. So we think that it is very important that there's feedback between the children, the organization, and the sponsors to know what's going on. So it's not just a donation and no feedback, because
How did this organization get started in Kenya? Or
In Kenya, that was where Missionary Mary was basically door knocking in the slums, and they were trying to help children out that were impoverished. So they noticed, I think it was 2006 or 7, that the Missionary Mary and Sylvester started. They organized the children.
but how did you as Americans get involved?
Oh, how did we?
Your whole board, I guess. You have
Yeah.
not.
Okay. For missionary for Heart to Heart USA, Melanie and I went over to Africa. Her brother-in-law was actually getting married to a South African lady, and we were supporting a couple of children. So we decided we wanted to go over and see Nairobi there in Kenya, and so we stopped on a layover in Kenya, went and saw some the schools and saw Consolata, and when we came back, we were just led by the Lord to start a 501c3, and we asked Missionary Mary how we could help, and she said, well, there was an organization out in California that was assisting, but she had some medical issues and things weren't going well. So we kind of took over for that mission that was out in California.
Yeah, what happened was a young lady from our church, she was a Marine station here at Camp Lejeune, and her brother was a missionary in Sudan, and she went over there to visit him, and she wound up going over to Kenya, and that's how she met Missionary Mary. When she came back, she gave a presentation to some of the women in our church, and that's how we became interested. So she connected us to Missionary Mary, and that's how we found out about Consolata.
So where was this California group?
It's in Shingle Springs, California, and they are Lutheran, and I'm not sure exactly the affiliation between them. When Mary asked us, like Dan said, it was challenging because the communication and support. When we started donating, we would actually send our donations in through the Shingle Springs. It's called Hope for Living. It was their organization, and then they would pass them on. But something happened, and with the late, like Dan said, she might have gotten sick or something.
She had some medical issues or something, and it was delaying some of the payments. It were delayed getting over to the children and stuff. So when we asked Missionary Mary how we could help, and she said, well, if you guys could do an organization, that would be helpful. So we started it, and we ended up absorbing the Hope for Living children. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
My daughter and some of her friends tried to do that about 10 years ago in South Sudan.
Nice.
And then when they had the revolution or whatever it was, they were told, don't come back, it's much too dangerous. So they now do it in Haiti.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's
sad.
it is sad.
That's also dangerous. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melanie and I, we've been to Africa, actually three trips. It was when we did the layover the first time, we actually laid over coming back, so we actually got to see a little bit more. So it was two short trips and then one longer trip, which was
This year in May.
Yeah,
April, May.
So we did it for, I think it was 9 or 10 days. We're overseas. So, but what a blessing. And when you can see things on TV and you can hear things on the radio, but until you walk the ground and see the needs and all of that, it's a different perspective, and it really touched my heart, and I just it is just amazing what we don't do a whole lot. We wish that we could do a lot more, but the blessings that you get out of it is just it's phenomenal. And the joy when you see the picture of the kids at school and you look into their eyes and you see the joy in their heart, they don't have anything. They barely have the clothes that they're wearing, but they are so happy and joyful, and that the Lord is working in their lives, and you can just see the joy in their hearts, and that it just touches me.
Cool. So it seems like what we could see kind of what students we could adopt. You can also make special donations. We can encourage members to adopt one. Those are all good ideas. If we got really excited about this and everyone was really hoping to go visit them, is that something we could do? Like
We would love for you to come and visit. Like I said, we're working on getting our agenda together in April. So we're looking to do another 9-day trip. So if anybody would like to go, we would love to have you go with us.
Okay. And then do you have any stories about how the faith has impacted the kids' lives?
Well, I can tell you, Esther, she's what we actually have a communication liaison and an assistant. Esther is the assistant communications liaison, and she was actually helped by Heart to Heart
Orphan Center.
the center there. Okay, she just her life story is just really horrific. She said that the last time she remembers seeing her mother, she was laying in a pool of blood on the floor with her tooth on the floor where her father had beat her mother, and the grandmother ended up taking them, and she got connected with Mary, but she says that her faith is so immense because she has seen what God can do. She has seen him at work, and where we take so many things for granted, they always, Mary, Sylvester, Esther, they always revert back to faith. Where we're going to do it, we have a military background, so it's mission, but they always revert back to faith, and just her faith is just immense. That what she has seen God do and how he works in her life. Right now, she's helping her brother get him in his school. And anyways, we're working with her on that.
Cool. So I have a Zoom Bible class at 6 o'clock. That's in 7 minutes.
Okay.
But I'd love to pray for you guys before we leave. I just want
Yes, please.
I don't know if there's anything else we should talk about.
Well, if you have any follow-up questions, please, get a hold of John, or you can get a hold of me or Rebecca or Melanie, whoever. Reach out to our website, or there's a million ways to get a hold of us. But we are just so grateful for y'all listening to our story, and we would love to be able to partner up with y'all in any way that we can support those children and the families over there. There's such need, and this is a great way to share the gospel with those young kids. So we just thank you.
Yeah. So you gave my ideas going, and I'll share some with the board and members from church and see if they think that's where God's calling us to go, and get back to you guys for sure.
Outstanding.
Thank you very much.
Dear Lord, thank you so much for blessing us with the ability to be there for other people, people who show us not to take so much for granted, people that make it clear how much you provided, how much you love us, so that the cup overflows and pours into children's lives and international lives all around the world. Every day we wake up with 2 eyes and 2 ears and 2 hands, and we wonder, who are we to deserve another day? And it's because we're someone you love. Please help us to see the image of Christ on these kids, on each other, to move forward in peace and hope together. Bless this ministry, Heart to Heart USA, that may flourish, that may impact many lives and create many strong Christian leaders throughout the world. In Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right. Bye.
Carolyn.
All right. Bye. Bye, Rebecca.